It is Wednesday, my dudes, and you know what that means. It is time, once again, to revisit Velocity Lake, the Planet Coaster series that I upload once a week on this channel. Sometimes. Has been a little while since we were back in this park. Well, 3 weeks. A lifetime ago, it seems. The reason being that the last couple of Wednesdays were Christmas Day and New Year's Day. Busy time for myself, and I imagine for yourselves as well. So hopefully you can forgive me for not having time to upload a Planet Coaster video on those days. But don't worry, we are back on track. We will continue going down this cesspit of a series right up until the bitter end. Now, in terms of oftentimes in this series, I try and summarize what it is we're going to be doing in the episode you're about to watch. But I'm having a hard time coming up with what the title, thumbnail, description, and the thing I'm supposed to be saying right now should be, because we don't really do a lot in this episode. We're basically just laying down the groundwork for the area that will surround the RMC. I had this big plan that this big RMC, very thrilling ride, you can see in the background there, is going to be like the centerpiece, even though it's at the side, but the focal point of this little thrill ride peninsula is, I guess, what I'm going with that I've just thought of on the spot right now, area of the park. So we're going to put a few thrill rides down, put some shops down, a couple of gentler rides as well, just to appease, parents who want to have fun, but little John wants to go on something he could go. So we'll have a couple of gentle rides as well, next to the restaurants probably. It's going to be a nice little area, and to be honest, I have the ability to look into the future for you guys, because I built this park, so I know how this area comes out, and let me just say, it is probably my favorite area in the whole park. I really, really like it. It almost makes me want to do a new park from the ground up with the actual things I've learned and the skills I've gained through building Velocity Lake. Make it like this area by the RMC. It's probably my favorite area I've ever built in Planet Coaster, so I hope you are looking forward to it. I've probably massively oversold it. Don't get your hopes up. It's still pretty mediocre. If you want a good Planet Coaster series, look, I've been binging a lot of Mike Sheets recently. Masked Bandit's always great. Operator recently finished his Flying Dutchman recreation. Actually, I'm going to put that in the description, because I've been fascinated by that series. It has more episodes than Velocity Lake has so far, and it's literally just one roller coaster. Like, that guy will spend an hour making a window for a shop. It's incredible to watch. I think there was something like 43 episodes or something crazy like that on just one roller coaster. And it's a recreation of the Flying Dutchman coaster at Efteling, which is a very intimidating park to recreate anything from, because it is a very, very heavily themed park. Maybe not quite as heavily themed as Disney, or it's definitely up there. It is Disney levels of theming, put it that way. But like, the rides are actually good. So like, well, I guess that's a bit harsh. But it's not it's not family rides like Baron 1898. I've probably said it right. The drop coaster, the vertical drop roller coaster at Efteling, the Baron is a vertical drop roller coaster. So it's obviously not a family friendly coaster. I guess Flying Dutchman is. Where am I going with this? It's a very heavily themed park, put it that way. And so my hat goes off to anyone attempting to recreate any of the coasters there by any stretch, but to the level Operator did, my goodness. I mean, I hope he stays away from sharp objects, because he is definitely insane. JK. I mean that in the nice... He's not watching this video. Yeah, I mean it in the nicest sense possible. So yeah, do watch that in the description. I'm just clearly plugging someone else's... I probably should be plugging other people's videos. I should be plugging my own. Guys, watch my series Mirror Lake. It's great. It's not. It's bad. It's aged very poorly. I've been thinking about doing a sort of Planet Coaster episode where we go back and look at the previous parks I've made. So Crimson Tower, Neptune Park, even though we did Neptune Park not that long ago. Neptune Park, Crimson Tower, and Mirror Lake. And I guess the Planet Coaster park I made right when the game first came out, I think it was called Lowne Lake or something. Not very good park. I didn't really know how to play the game at that point, so I was just experimenting. It was only one video, so I didn't have to waste anyone's time with a series like I am with Velocity Lake. Just now thinking back in my head, did I start talking about something and then sidetrack on something else and fail to finish the point I was making? I don't think I was. Anyway, that's kind of the thing I want to do. It always makes me want to tear down this park and make it just as good as the area in this area, because I'm very proud of it, put it that way. Now, this bridge here, not this one, this one, I'm thickening it up because I thought it looked a bit spindly, a bit weedy to realistically support the path it was holding up. The other coaster you saw me built, so I made that steel coaster next to it just to give me the shape of the arch. It doesn't look that great, don't get too attached to this bridge. I do end up deleting it a bit. Like, I didn't delete the whole thing, so I wasn't sure how to not show all of the building, if that makes sense. Like, we keep some of this structure, but not all of it. So I kind of decided just to show the construction of the entire thing anyway, just so you can kind of see the design process, I guess, the process that I go through when making Planet Coaster structures. So I decided that this bridge didn't really fit, so what can we do to change that? So yeah, don't get too attached to it. I hope it's serviceable nonetheless, but it does look a bit strange, doesn't it? Like the archway doesn't really mirror up to the pathway underneath it. Like I really hope if we do get a Planet Coaster 2, which I really, really sincerely hope we do, I would actually be more hyped for a Planet Coaster 2 than a Kerbal Space Program 2, to be honest. If we do get a Planet Coaster 2, the path tool would be so nice if we could get better paths. Like I know we've got Planet Zoo, but the paths aren't really that much better in Planet Zoo. If we could make like smoothed, arched bridges, that would be great. I know you technically can by shaping the terrain and stuff, but I always struggle to get it smooth. And I think at that point it takes so long to even do that. We should probably just have an easier solution. Like how you make humps on roller coasters, do something like that with the paths. I don't know. Like, you know, with the coaster editor, have like a sort of advanced path tool possibly. And it's basically just exactly like a coaster track editor. It's just an idea. Or, you know, just look at city skylines and do that. Yeah, anyway, I do remember I was saying, though, I was struggling to think of what to call the title and thumbnail because we don't really do a lot. It's basically, like I say, laying down the groundwork, done some path layouts, now just sort of doing some of the fencing around the queue line. That sort of thing. So queue line fencing, I guess, could be the focus. Well, I did edit this a while ago, and then I went home for Christmas for a few weeks, and so I don't really remember how I left things off. So this is a journey for me as much as it is for you guys. We're all enjoying it together, except I'm watching it at 4 FPS on Sony Vegas, because Sony Vegas is like preview screen is obviously lags because there's a lot of there's color correction, sharpness adjustments, and obviously the footage is playing back at something like 8 or 12 times playback speed. It's not actually playing back as fast as I often play it back, just because the camera is moving around a lot, and when there's lots of camera movement, playing it back too fast just makes it way too hard to assimilate what's going on screen. So hopefully, you know, is this a too slow a pace? Like, do you feel like things need to be moving on a little bit quicker? Let me know in the comments and I'll read them. Like I say, I've said before time and time again, I read the comments a lot more. Well, how do I phrase this? Because I read the comments from my Kerbal Space Program videos as well. But because I get so many more comments in Kerbal Space Program, I can't reasonably read all of them because I just will miss some. Planet Coaster, I get a lot fewer comments. So I'm much more likely to read a comment of yours and see it. So if you've got a question, comment it down below and I might answer it. There is a chance I might miss it, or, you know, if it's a few weeks down the line, I will probably just stop checking the comments. But, you know, let me know. Do you like the kind of slower pace? I mean, I guess now we're doing something a little bit more in bulk making, like not just tweaking something small, but building lots of fences really quickly. So I guess it's an acceptable pace now. Yeah, like I say, it's difficult for me to find things to talk about. We've talked so much about placing fencing, and let's face it, it's not exactly a topic you can spend lots and lots of time talking about. Oh, there's a nice little overview of the coaster. I think I'll put a POV at the end of this video just to kind of refresh you guys, because I haven't been on this coaster for a while. Well, I haven't been on it ever, to be clear, but I haven't watched the POV in quite some time. So we could do that together at the end of this episode. How long even is it? I've basically taken a bunch of footage and then just shoved it all together and then kind of roughly divided it into what I feel will be an appropriate episode length. So it looks like this one's about 20 minutes. Next episode will be about 25 minutes, and then I haven't really finished editing the next one. I'm kind of doing it all along as I go. I'm using Sony Vegas 17 as well. I thought, you know, my Sony Vegas 13 that I pirated when I was a teenager is getting a bit dated. Let's try a newer version of the software, and I will just pay for it. You know, I'm now earning money. Raid Shadow Legends has tossed me some coin. We can just buy it, but I'm using the 30-day trial version at the moment, just because I didn't want to just fork out £400 on software that I realized I didn't like very much, and I don't like it very much. It's not as I don't know. Everything is like they do that thing that all companies making new software do, where everything that was one click and now takes 2 clicks. Granted, I am finding I'm able to get most of the functionality back by going through preferences and stuff, but it's always annoying that by default, everything has to be this nice, clean UI. Like, this isn't a phone app. It's a desktop professional piece of software where I just care about the function of things. And just the UI itself looks a lot uglier. Like, for the most part, it's the same. But things like the icons have now got big black lines around them. The interface is just darker, but like, it's just I think it's just because I'm a dinosaur and I don't like change. So when the 30-day free trial expires, I'll probably just go back to Vegas 13, to be honest. Which took a while. I had to clear the cache for the Vegas 13 because I bought a new computer. That's another thing I did this week in my life. It's sitting on my desk next to me, and it's looking at it now. It looks pretty great. I forgot to plug in the water cooler RGB to the motherboard, so that isn't working properly. The pump is, luckily. But yeah, I got a nice, sweet rig. I kind of downgraded in a couple of areas. I had a full tower case. Now I've got a mid-tower case. And I regret that massively because my PC storage, I've got 3 terabytes worth of SSDs in like 2.5 inch drives, 3.5 inch drives like HDDs for storage for editing these videos, and that's a lot to incorporate into a computer. On top of those, and this is all in a mid-tower case, it's the Fractal Design Meshify S2. On top of that issue, I've also decided to go full RGB. Hooray! So I've got 4 Corsair LL 140mm RGB fans and 3 120mm RGB fans for the actual 360mm water cooler that's doing the CPU. It's just an AIO thing. And so to get all the RGB working, I had to get a Corsair Commander Pro and a couple of Lighting Node Pros, and I've got some RGB strips that need their own node as well. So it's like the Commander Node Pro is like slightly larger than a 2.5 inch SSD, and all the little nodes is probably the same sort of size. So I've effectively got 4 2.5 inch size SSDs, 3 3.5 inch HDDs. All of these things need SATA power going to them. Data cables going to them, like the actual RGB controllers need USB going to them as well, and it's a lot of stuff to fit in a mid-tower case. Like, it was soul-crushing doing all the cable management. It took literally like 3 to 4 hours just in like cable management and getting everything fit together, like putting all the things like the RAM, GPU, CPU, that took like an hour at most to get everything in the case. But then I had to put the RGB wiring in, and that just took the rest of the day, just sorting out all the wiring and cabling. Also, I bought a Cable Mod premium cable kit because I've been watching a lot of Linus, J2Sense, all them guys, and seeing their case, like, gosh, they look great, those cables. So I decided to buy a Cable Mod kit. And it doesn't even come with the right cables because my graphics card, it needs like, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 kind of power pins going into it to the PSU, and Cable Mod doesn't come with enough cables for that. Like, well, it does, but then my actual PSU itself doesn't have the number of ports. You need like the power cables with the split ports, you know what I mean, like the ones that can split into, so it's like one VGA cable with 8 pins on the end. Cable Mod doesn't have any like that, at least in the kit I got. So I had to use some of my kind of crappy cheapo default cables that came with the power supply unit. So it's kind of a mixture of Cable Mod and then just a couple of cables coming off the GPU for, regular cabling. I mean, you guys are pretty interested. Maybe I'll just talk about the specs of my computer, right? That might be something you guys would be interested in. So basically, for the RAM, I have 64 gigabytes of G.Skill DDR4 3600 megahertz RAM. At the moment, I've only got 32 gigabytes because one of the kits got delayed. So that's the extra 32 gigabytes is still being shipped, but it will be 64 when it comes out. The cooler is the Corsair H150i 360mm water cooler AIO, and the actual CPU itself is the Ryzen 3950X CPU. I haven't overclocked it yet, but I've heard that overclocking it doesn't really make a difference, as in like a meaningful difference, so I'll probably just leave it at 3600 megahertz, I think it is. I don't know. Anyway, the GPU is an RTX 2080 Ti, and I think those are all the components. Oh, I've also got an M.2 SSD. So I actually have, how many gigabytes of it? I have 5 gigabytes of SSD storage now. I've got a 2 terabyte M.2 SSD in the motherboard itself. It's the Corsair one. Don't know which one it's called. It's the Corsair M.2 storage. Anyway, that's what I've got. And that was something I did. Was there a reason for me opening this tangent? Probably. Oh yeah, I think it gave me some trouble getting Sony Vegas working again because Sony Vegas is tied to your hardware. But I reset the cache, seemed to fix it, so I now have it again. So at the moment, I've got 2 copies of Sony Vegas on this PC. I will probably not bother continue. Vegas 17 has a couple of features that I like. Like, you can speed up footage more than 12 times speed. It can go up 40 times speed, I think. No, I don't think it's that much. No, I think it is. I think it can go up to, well, it can go a lot faster. It's kind of weird in Sony Vegas. You can like speed up tracks to 4 times speed, but then that's like the video and the audio. But then you can actually increase the video by percentage. So you can speed it up by 4 times, then increase the speed of the video to 300% in old Sony Vegas. Now you can upgrade it, speed it up to 1,000% on top of the 4 times speed. So that's 40 times, right? I don't know, whatever. That's what I got. So that's a nice feature. I won't need that very often, but it's a nice feature to have. And there's a couple of like little special effects that are a bit silly, but they're kind of cool to have. And there's probably other features that I need to just play around with it. That's what the free trial period is for. I will probably just buy it, if nothing else, out of piracy guilt. For I've achieved a lot with my free copy of Vegas 13. I should probably just pay for it. So I did try not that long ago buying Vegas 13 like a key, so I could say I legally owned the copy in case I needed to access tech support or whatever, but you can't even legally purchase it anymore. You have to buy the latest version, and I guess it's not too much of an issue that they would stop selling the old variant, but with things like Photoshop, it's super annoying because you can't buy it anymore. You have to buy it on a subscription model, and I don't really like that. Same thing with Microsoft Office now. You have to get Office 365. You can still purchase a one-time purchase of Microsoft Office, like Home and Student and stuff, but I don't think that's going to stick around for very long. So I think I'm just going to stop using Office. I just hate how everything has to be a subscription model now. Like, I understand it's not an issue for corporations and stuff, and why it might be a sensible business decision, but for home users like me, well, I use Word maybe once a month. Maybe not that infrequently, but I do more text editing in Notepad than I do in Microsoft Word. And same thing for like Excel. I use Excel when tax season comes around just to do all my expenses and stuff so my accountant can do everything. But I could easily use OpenOffice or something. So there's really, like I will happily buy it once just to have it, but then I'm not going to pay for it year on year because I just don't need the software that much. I don't know. What do you think? Leave comments below. What do you think of subscription-based software models in this discussion about a Planet Coaster video? So what have we done? We've done curbing, fencing, path laying, a bit of bridge building. It's been a bit of a rhapsody of an episode, a conglomeration of lots of different topics. But I hope it was hope you enjoyed it. I talk about this like I'm wrapping the video up, but there's still there's like 2-3 minutes left in the video. I'm now like trying to steer this commentary back on track to discuss what's going on screen, but that's pretty much, I've now covered it. I am now once again without a meaningful topic to guide the conversation. What else can I talk about with my new PC? I made a couple of boo-boos. The 3.5mm jack on the front of the case isn't working, and I don't know why, because it's nothing in the Microsoft Sound control panel that's stopping it. So I might have just done something wrong with the I/O panels or something. So I'm going to have to open up again, try and dig up everything in the absolute rat's nest of a cable management I managed to do. Not looking forward to that. I'll probably just do it when my new RAM comes. Luckily, my monitors and my desktop speakers have headphone jacks in them, so I can just use those. I'll probably just use those, to be honest. But it would be nice to have a functioning headphone jack on the front of the PC. I'll do it at some point. I'll do it later. Don't worry, guys. But yeah, that's the new PC. I'm actually kind of excited to see if it renders any faster. Now I've got a faster CPU. Well, I mean, it should probably render faster, but how significantly faster? Like, I don't know how well optimized for multiple cores and stuff Vegas is. I keep calling it Sony Vegas and stuff, even though it's not Sony anymore. Like, Sony Vegas 13 is still Sony Vegas 13, but Vegas 17 is just Vegas 17. It's been bought out by Magic, I think. I mean, I should probably switch. There's probably people in the comments saying I should switch to Premiere Pro because that's what Endgame was edited on and all that. And it is a better piece of software. But for what I realistically need, which is just be able to play back footage at a sped up speed and the ability to record a commentary, that's pretty much all I need from editing software. And Sony Vegas, while slightly less functional than Premiere Pro, it's much easier and quicker to edit things together. So I'll probably just that's why I want to just stick with the Vegas hard platform. And also, I'm familiar with Sony Vegas. Like, I know my way around I keep calling it Sony Vegas. I'm familiar with Vegas and the shortcuts and the things you can do on it. I don't know if I can really be bothered to learn a new piece of software. Yeah, here we are on the POV, by the way. Did I mention earlier that we were going to show a POV of this coaster because we haven't been on it for a while? This is me showcasing it. And next episode, we're going to be kind of doing something to that bridge. We're building some more rides, I think. Like I said, I've kind of edited a bunch of footage together and I'm going to split it up into episodes as it goes along when it reaches that point in the in the video playback where I'm like, this is probably now a natural conclusion to this episode, which for this episode is now on screen. There's some good timing right there. On screen, on the left-hand side, there's a link to the full Velocity Lake playlist. On the right-hand side, there's a video chosen for you by YouTube's recommendation algorithms. There's also a link to subscribe and to check out my Patreon site if you would like to. In the description, you'll find links to Twitter, Discord, Instagram, merchandise, all that good stuff. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.